Hey everyone, welcome to Promethean Tides. I am General, and this is Breaker. Hello, Breaker.
Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer, do.
2001 Space Odyssey. Excellent movie. Um,
Yay. We may talk about that in the future.
yeah, good old Stanley Kubrick. A very good director in my opinion.
I would also recommend a movie called Color Me Kubrick about a real life story about this basically insane guy that had a delusion where he thought he was Stanley Kubrick. It was sort of like that mental illness where stereotypical representation of that is people that think they're Napoleon, but instead of Napoleon, he thought he was Stanley Kubrick. And because Stanley Kubrick was so reclusive, this literal crazy guy had a whole bunch of meetings with a high level Hollywood brass, and they didn't realize it wasn't actually Stanley Kubrick.
okay. uh, yeah. What is going on, guys? We are now on Spotify. So, if you don't like having to deal with YouTube, if you like to listen to this more, like when you're driving, or if you're walking someplace, or if you're at work, then that might be a better option. So, we are now on Spotify. Just look up Promethean Tides on Spotify, and you will find us there. And all of the episodes should be up. In addition to that, as per usual, smash the like and subscribe button. Yep, gotta shill that. And also, if there's an interesting point in the conversation that you want to get your thoughts out there on, then you can leave a comment. We absolutely will read all the comments. So if you leave a message, then very likely we will read it. And if it's a really big brain message, then might just have to use that in the future or something like that. So yeah. Anyway, with that out of the way, there was a couple of big news items this week. Obviously, one of them was very tragic, but I didn't want to start with the worst one. So just start with so apparently President Biden was asked if he would defend Taiwan, and he said yes, and then. But then the White House said, no, he didn't mean that. And then I think the AP said, oh, yeah, look at how strong Biden is. But then, and then another group said, oh, no, this is not what he meant. See, don't look the other way. He didn't mean anything by this. So, at this point, maybe this is a good strategy because I'm completely confused as to how the United States would handle a communist invasion of Taiwan, and maybe the Chi Coms are just as confused. I don't know what do you think about this, Breaker?
Come on, man. America has to stand up for Taiwan. Who else is gonna make the things?
Well, yeah, that's actually a good point. It's something like 80% of all chips come out of Taiwan. That is easily like that is such a big supplier to everyone. Like that is the world hub for when it comes to manufacturing processors. Uh, I can't imagine how it is that the United States could let China take over Taiwan, But then again, we're happy to shut down our own oil supplies and just buy our energy from foreign nations, because I guess that makes us stronger somehow. So maybe America wants to just give one of the most important manufacturing areas over to China, because maybe that would also make us stronger by putting all of these strategic manufacturing places in the hands of our enemies. It's got to be good for the economy, right?
Oh, come on, man. Like, diversity is our strength. And speaking of chips, I remember when I used to sit beside the pool and I would eat corn chips with corn pop. And then his kids, they would come up to me in the pool and rub my legs, and the hair would stand up, turn blonde in the sun. That's how I learned about roaches. Taiwan, I mean, America, you know the thing.
That was beautiful. A great speech.
That's about as coherent as the actual politics around this, by the way. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but when you think about who is in charge of all this shit right now, like Baidoom, Alzheimer's Howdy Doody, the corpse puppet, whatever you want to call him, yeah, this is a global fucking embarrassment, and I don't even give a shit about global. Everyone else does.
Breaker,
to have the world hegemon America. And if you don't mash that subscribe and like button, I will die to robots who have to help me.
Yeah, you're better now. Go ahead.
I mean, this is so embarrassing and pathetic. Like, every time he says something, the administration then has to put out a press release like, he totally didn't mean that, guys. But he totally didn't mean that, guys, doesn't mean much when you're actually freaking negotiating and trying to lead a fucking country.
Well, like I'm saying, maybe this is, maybe Trump was playing like 4D chess, but what if this is like 5D underwater chess, right? Biden...
We've added an extra dimension to our chess game now.
Exactly. Like, Biden is so confusing that people couldn't predict Trump, but maybe even more so they can't predict Biden. Because I'm not sure that even Biden can predict Biden. So, maybe this is big brain moves. I don't know.
I actually analyzed that famous, that's how I learned about roaches spiel that Biden did. And the most I could get out of that was it was some type of, the end of segregation meant that there weren't like black only and white only pools anymore. How roaches came into that, I can only speculate that it might have been how the wire for roaches and African Americans got crossed in Biden's brain. I don't know. I'll leave that up to your imagination.
Well, isn't if you have a joint and you're smoking it, and then it gets down to the very last bit, you call that a roach, right? So maybe that's...
Wait a minute.
Maybe that's what he was referring to.
That means that's even worse. That means that Biden was smoking freaking roaches in a public pool with black kids.
I mean, honestly, if that was the worst thing that he had ever done, I would be a lot more satisfied, because I think he's done far worse.
But wait a minute, that's doubly bad, because he's implying that the black kids were too poor to roll like a full doobie, so he had to suck a roach when the black kids came to the pool. When it was just a whites only pool, everyone had big fat doobies.
What was it that Biden said? The white kids they're just as smart as the poor kids.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, the white kids are just as smart as the poor kids. Fucking words to live by. Yeah, there was that. Not sure what's going to go on with Taiwan. I can't actually tell what America's position is on this. Like, if Trump were in power, I would know that the minute that China tried landing a kayak on that island, Trump would fucking send in the U.S. Navy. But under the Biden administration, I have no idea what our reaction would be, and I don't think anyone knows. It's up in the air. And I think that it's actually important when it comes to dealing with our adversaries on the world stage to actually have clear lines and like be able to say, hey, if you do this, then like bad things will happen. Like it's like how you raise a child, right? You tell them the rules, and then if they violate them, then they get punished. You don't just say like kind of like, hey, like child in general, just like try not to do bad stuff, and like maybe I'll respond by punishing you if like I'm not gonna like put any fucking rules out there that are specific, but just like kind of a general guideline, just try to do good, and I'll like maybe beat you if you do a bad job, but you'll never know. Like, this is not the way that you're supposed to run a country, I don't think. But then again, who knows? I'm not the president. Joe Biden, I'm sure, is infinitely wiser than I am.
Well, if you try to run a country like the way Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith parent their freaking children, then you get, well, just Google Will Smith's kids and you'll see exactly what I mean.
The only Smith kid I know is Jaden Smith, because he was in a couple movies with his dad. He's isn't he the one who said like it was something about our eyes aren't real or something?
Well, that's better than what was it? Who was that black celebrity that said 1 times 1 is 2?
I mean, that's just facts.
And I don't know if it was R. Kelly. I can't remember his freaking name off the top of my head. I think it was Puff Daddy, maybe. I don't remember. If anyone knows, put it in the comments. But this is the thing. If you look up like 1 times 1 equals 2 on Google, you will find that this guy was always running around making all these claims that apparently multiplication works differently. I don't know how he came to this conclusion, but I wonder what would happen if you actually made that an axiom of math. What would happen? I wonder if anyone actually, mathematicians, ever tested that.
Oh, yeah, like actually, that is an interesting question. If you restarted math from the ground up using different axioms, would you still have something that is, I guess, as logically consistent as mathematics is? I don't know the answer to that question, but that's actually a very interesting question.
I think there's a really convoluted way to come to that answer in calculus where you get something like basically the answer is 1, but through this process it comes out as log 2. But if you look back to the axioms, it basically tells you that 1 is equal to 2. So it violates the Peano axiom. So it's this really complicated math formula, though, and you spend a lot of time doing this only to get like 1 is equal to 2, which is not correct.
Huh. Yeah. I am not a mathematician myself, but it would be interesting to see if you could have a like a viable form of mathematics with a different set of axioms. Like what if you actually did like have an axiom in Math 2.0 that said that 1 is equal to 2? If that was your axiomatic claim, then could you construct something that was at least self-referentially consistent? Interesting.
By
idea.
the way, in regular mathematics, you can technically do that, but it involves like multi-nested hierarchies of infinity to the omega level, and the omega 1 is equal to, or can be equal to, omega 2, but there's so much informational density and you have so much to work with at that point, it's not the same as like the discrete 1 and 2.
It is, well, Uh, by fucking around with some rules, you could there's a way where it's like if you take a number and you divide it by a variable, but in that case the variable is actually equal to 0, then you're dividing by infinity, and then you can make 1 equals 2. But that's why you're not allowed to divide by 0 in math. But yeah, anyway, just some math stuff there. So yeah, no idea what's going to happen with Taiwan. I want them to keep making microchips, so that I can have like computer stuff, because it seems really important for our economy to have like computer stuff. So I hope that we can keep having those. It would really suck if just tomorrow, 80% of our ability to import microchips just went kaput. I think it would make life very difficult for your average American. So, for instance, you wouldn't be getting a new iPhone every year. You would just stick with the iPhone that you have right now for like the next 5 years. But so in addition to that, the Democrats, in their infinite wisdom, I guess that they're trying to push forward this thing where they could disqualify up to, I guess, 147 Republicans, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, because they spoke at the January 6th rally. And I guess that because they spoke at the event, and by the way, did not call for anyone to go into the Capitol building, nor did they themselves set foot into the Capitol building. But I guess that is still called being an insurrectionist, and so the 14th Amendment would then bar them. I don't think that I can like conceptualize in my head a dumber fucking argument, but there it is. That is the I guess that's the legal argument that the Democrats are attempting to make. Because if you were anywhere near Washington, D.C. on that horrendous day that will live on in infamy as being 10 times worse than 9/11, then obviously you're an insurrectionist and you're not allowed to hold political offices anymore. I fucking guess. I don't know. That story is so insane to me. I can't comprehend it.
From my perspective, this is actually a good thing because it shows how desperate the Democrats are that they're grasping at such monumentally thin straws as this.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it does kind of show that they're a little bit desperate, huh?
Yeah, because when you're at this level, like, let's say hypothetically, if this were to go before the court is going to want, like, okay, what is the evidence that these politicians colluded in an insurrection? Do you have any, like, written or spoken, like, recorded proof that they said, hey, everybody, go over to the Capitol and, do the thing? The closest they can come, and they actually tried to argue this, but by Donald Trump, like, saying to the people, like, continue your non-violent protest and then go home with love in your heart, they tried to construe that as, like, what he meant to say was go to the Capitol and overthrow the government.
Well, he was dog
work.
whistling. Breaker, you have to understand. He was dog whistling, okay?
Oh, this parallel language of dog whistles ain't gonna fly in frickin' court. Then you could say it's like, oh, it's hearsay, Your Honor. Well, I mean, it might be hearsay by your definition, but in dog whistle language, it's a confession. Do you see how this doesn't work?
Can you imagine if that actually like was a thing in court? Like, the some guys like on trial for murder, and the judge is like, okay, how do you plead? You guys not guilty. And then, like, the prosecutor lawyer is like, well, you see, actually, Your Honor, he's dog whistling. What that means is that he's guilty. Like, It's such a
Yeah, there you go.
uh um yeah.
I don't like this guy, so I can construe in my head like this secret parallel language that only I can hear that guy totally just said, but you have to think exactly like me in order to hear it.
Right, yeah. Like that guy, he admitted to kicking his dog, but actually what he means by dog is bitch. And what he means by bitch is his wife, which means that actually he just said that he kicked his wife. That is assault against another human. That's attempted murder. And the guy's like, no, I accidentally kicked my dog. And actually, wait, no, this is actually Joe Biden. Didn't Joe Biden accidentally kick his dog? Like, that was a story like a year ago.
Apparently, Joe Biden was in the shower, presumably naked, and he tried to grab his dog's tail, and the dog pulled away from him, and he was pulled out of the shower by this like weighty, not wimpy German Shepherd dog. It's a very substantial and powerful dog. So I would, in that scenario, it probably would be possible for such a dog to physically pull you around if it wanted to, especially if you were screwing with it metaphorically.
Yeah, why would you be screwing with, like, don't there's a thing that I've noticed about a lot of animals. They don't like having their tail pulled. It's just a thing that they don't like.
Well, apparently, like Joe Biden, he just thought it was one of those kids from the pool, and he just wanted a leg rub. That's what actually happened.
No,
see how dog whistle logic is perfect.
No, he just wanted to fucking light up some roaches with the dog and just get a slight buzz going. So yeah,
but the dog was straight edge, so it was like, ruh-roh, what are you, roach racky?
If you think about it, most dogs are actually very straight edge. They're a lot more straight edge than most humans are. So yeah, I think that it is I think that the Democrats pulling this sort of like legal stunt, I think it shows that they are very desperate. They are so not confident in themselves to win an election via, people wanting to actually fucking vote for them, that they're trying to find any avenue to stay in power despite the fact that everyone just absolutely hates them. And to tag to add a little bit more weight to the problems of the Democrats. So I guess that Georgia had their GOP primary, and the turnout 4 years ago in 2018 was 600,000 people. And the turnout 4 years later, in 2022, 1.1 million. 600,000 to 1.1 million in the course of 4 years. They have almost doubled the number of people that have come out to vote. People have switched from the Democratic Party over to the Republican Party. And in fact, it looks like the Democrat primary in the same state, Georgia, is down, I guess, something like 9%. So the Democrats lost a bit, and the Republicans basically doubled their numbers. That does not bode well for the future of the Democrat Party. If I were looking at those numbers, I would be extremely nervous about this coming election.
Yeah, that doesn't look too good, does it? I think it's going to be like a monumental red wave. Even if the election is like double, triple, super fortified with 100% honest people behind it. Even if that's the case, I don't think that they can fortify well enough to make this look any better for them.
Yeah, it's it would take a lot of a lot of fortification to make sure that we got the just and true democratic answers that they would be looking for. I'm not sure if they will be able to fortify it that well, you know. So I think that there might be good news coming down the pipe with all of this. I am looking forward to these elections. I know that I will be participating in the in my district and for the representative seat that is open. There's a primary going on, and I will certainly be voting in that. And also in the general. And I think I know who I would like to vote for in that. So yeah, everyone should. If you're listening and you live in America and you live in a place where there is going to be an election going on, make sure to vote. The primary is actually very important to participate in, because I think that's where the that's where the real kind of election happens. For instance, AOC, she got in because she won the primary. In the district of New York that she's in, they will never vote for a Republican. So it's actually really just the primary that decides who the person is going to be. But there's less attention paid to the primary, and she was able to beat the old guy that was in there, and now we have AOC, who I think Elon Musk asked AOC to stop hitting on him because he's shy. So I think that if AOC ever happens to hear this, just please stop hitting on Elon Musk. AOC, it's not cool. He's a shy guy. Just leave him alone. Okay, he doesn't want to date you. He's having sex with Grimes. He's already had sex with Amber Heard. He doesn't need you, AOC. Okay, he's out of your league. I wanted to say that because AOC is kind of a creep.
He actually wait a minute, fact check. I think he actually broke up with Grimes recently.
Oh, yeah, that's, I guess, unfortunate. I don't know. That's not something I pay attention to. But
Elon Musk, his relationships are kind of bizarre. Like, he has a bunch of different kids by a bunch of different people, but he's a billionaire, so he can just, he makes all of the freaking baby mamas that he had millionaires, so they don't really complain because he can. And he never gets officially married, so I guess that just kind of works out.
Do you remember that quote from Fight Club? Fuckers setting up franchises. What if actually Fight Club happens in the future, and the narrator is actually just his father is Elon Musk, but Elon Musk left because he's off to go to the next town to set up another franchise of a family. You know what? I like that fan theory. That's my new fan theory. Yeah. So shit isn't looking good for the Democrats, and yeah, that's pretty much the story. So then we can get into the much more unfortunate news about the school shooting that happened in Texas. It occurred at Robb Elementary, and there was 19 children and 2 teachers that were killed, and 17 others that were injured. Yeah, very unfortunate that this happened.
Yes, very unfortunate indeed, and most definitely not a false flag.
Yeah, no, definitely not a false flag. I don't think that anyone, I think that, at least I like to think that, there would be no one evil enough to, kill, like 20 innocent kids to get their way. But
Look, our democracy is strong. Look, I'm Barack Hussein Obama, and I approve this message. Look, if we don't take out these terrorists with these drones, they will destroy our democracy.
well, okay, look. I mean, I can understand that sometimes our brilliant leaders in government will sometimes drone strike a whole bunch of innocent people over in a foreign country because fuck them. It's useful to us. But I don't think that anyone would. I am agreeing with you. I think that this is definitely not a false flag, because I think that would be insane. I think that if you wanted to do some sort of false flag kind of event, I think that there are way more efficient ways to do this sort of thing that doesn't result in fucking kids dying. So no, I think that this was an absolute tragedy. This was basically, I guess it was this 18-year-old kid. I won't say his name because fuck him. But he I guess he was upset that he wasn't gonna graduate high school. Apparently he had some I guess problems talking. He had a stutter and a lisp or something. So he was, I guess, kind of in a bad mood. So he shot his grandmother in the forehead. By the way, grandmother lived, actually walked over to the neighbors to ask for fucking help. I can't, and she's like 66. I don't know how it is that a 66-year-old woman survives a gunshot to the forehead, but I guess it's a thing. And then the shooter, he went over to the school for some goddamn reason and decided to start shooting. Now this of course is absolutely terrible, but some of the things that were happening during the shooting, I think, were just absolutely insane. So, yeah, apparently the police maybe didn't do such a good job at handling this one.
You think?
Yeah. So, I was reading up on this a little bit, and I was absolutely amazed at from what I can tell. I wasn't on the ground, and a lot of this is secondhand information, but it seems as though the police they didn't want to go into the school to try to, I guess, do anything about this. They were just kind of standing outside for like an hour. There were parents that were outside the school that were trying to go into the school to get their kids, and they were getting pepper sprayed or like handcuffed by the police and were told to not go into the building. And like apparently one mother was like handcuffed and then and sat down, but I guess like they then decided not to handcuff her, so they released her, and then she just fucking sprinted for the gate and like went into the school and then got her kids out of the school. So she she was doing shit that like the cops were not doing. Now I can understand from a certain perspective, right? It seemed as though the shooter he went into a classroom that was connected to another classroom, and he like barricaded himself in the first classroom, shot into the second classroom, and then just like stayed in the first classroom. So he was staying in that room, and he barricaded himself in there. I guess that maybe the police had some amount of knowledge that he wasn't going to be leaving there, and so like it was like a tense situation, and so like they were just kind of, I don't know, giving some time to plan it out or something. But here's what I would say to that. The people that he shot in that classroom, right? Like, if the police had gotten in there sooner, maybe some more would have lived, right? Like, it's possible that there was just someone, like, fucking bleeding out, for a half hour, and if they had gotten in there within 10 minutes, rushed them to the hospital, they would be fine. But, maybe they're just fucking lying there bleeding out because the cops are just fucking waiting for an hour to kind of see what happens. So, as far as I can tell, this was just incomprehensibly dumb on the police's part. I don't understand what they were doing. Now, this just happened. Maybe some more details will come out. Maybe actually the police did a fucking fantastic job and everything was handled correctly, and this is, just wild reporting or whatever. That could be the case, but from what I see and what I'm hearing, holy shit, did they fuck up on this one? Like, my god.
Okay, like barring all the wilder, more conspiratorial theories I could come up with, I think the most reasonable thing about this is probably actually much more unpleasant and sad than a lot of the conspiracies I could come up with. Probably what happened here was because they didn't have a standby tactical unit in this location. Because weren't you reading this, and like the tactical unit that ultimately had to respond was part of the Border Patrol? They were the only ones around that had something like a SWAT team / tactical unit.
Yeah, I think it was something like that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking it's like the police were just told that, okay, the bureaucratic red tape procedure says, like, wait until tactical unit arrives specifically. Like, all of these police officers with body armor and presumably access to fully automatic weapons themselves were just like, nah, bro, we're technically not the tactical unit. It says here in the bullet point list that we need the tactical unit to do this. Well, there is no tactical unit around. Like, somebody do something. It's like, our hands are tied. We're not able to do it because it doesn't say tactical unit on my badge, so meh.
Dude, okay, fuck that so hard. Look, this is an elementary school. It was basically a bunch of 10-year-olds that were killed. Like, at a certain point, if you're a police officer, don't you say, fuck the bureaucracy, like, I'm going to go in there and just end it, like, be damned if I get fired or not, like, this fucking shooter guy, he has to die? Like, I don't know, man. Like, I guess it's hard to say that you would or wouldn't do something in that sort of situation, but I like to think that if I was in that situation, I would be like, no, fuck that. This guy, he has to die. Like, that's it. Like, I will go in there. Like, fuck that. There are 10-year-olds that are fucking bleeding out.
You also have to remember, this is like, from what I recall you saying before the show started, this is a heavily, or presumed to be a heavily blue area. So, like, most of the blue people around here are going to be bureaucratic conformists that aren't going to violate the bullet point list. So,
well, it's a heavily Hispanic area. I think it's like
which in Texas usually means blue.
Yeah, it's 90% of that elementary school is Hispanic. So yeah, my guess, I actually don't know, but my guess is that it's probably a blue area of Texas. But I don't know. Maybe they could all be fucking based. And you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're red or blue. The fact is that these are kids. They're fucking innocents. I mean, they're not responsible for any of the fucking bad policies or decisions or anything like that happens in this nation. One of the fucking police officers should have gone in and done something, not waited for God knows how long. I will say that there was an officer that I guess a team of officers eventually went in there, and the officer that killed the shooter was actually injured in the exchange, but he I guess he's probably going to be fine. But he was shot in the exchange, but he managed to kill the shooter. So fucking good on that guy, I guess. Like that is like the only like maybe like fucking like good on that guy. You know, he killed the shooter. Good. At least there's that. But fucking A, the rest of the situation, it was just so poorly managed. I can't believe that. Like it's insane to me.
Yeah, but for me to comment any further, I'd have to get way deep into conspiracy land, and like I said before, I don't even think conspiracy land is required for this. I think it's just a failure of the fucking bloated bureaucracy of red tape and crap that the bullet point list says don't do anything without the tactical units on me. Even though we're all heavily armed and armored ourselves, like the only tactical unit is the border patrol, and they're kind of busy right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that there's any sort of fucking conspiracy behind this, man. It's not like fucking who is it? Like it was I think it was Alex Jones that like one time might have like sort of suggested that the Sandy Hook shooting was a conspiracy, and like he came back and he said no, it wasn't. I guess he was just like entertaining the idea, but I mean I don't think that I don't think that there is a conspiracy here. I think that sometimes if you're a kid, well, I mean this was an 18-year-old guy, but but I guess, if you're bullied a whole bunch or whatever, and you are failing out of high school and, I don't know, you have mental problems, then maybe shit like this happens sometimes. And it's unfortunate, but you know what we can do? We can talk about ways to prevent this from happening in the future, okay? Because... the thing is that I think that you take one of these parents and you give them a gun, they will act with more balls than the police did. And in fact, they did. They did act with more balls. There was a mother that ran into the building to get her kids out, and she did. And the police weren't even willing to do that. Look.
And she probably wasn't even wearing body armor.
I suspect that she wasn't. Yeah. I suspect that actually, and I know that this is counterintuitive, right? I understand that this may not make sense to everybody, but I suspect that if you had maybe like just 2 or 3 teachers at the school that were armed and had firearms training, then I think that it would be a lot more difficult for this kind of thing to happen, because it just would. That you're liable to get shot because there are more people with guns than you.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because recently I was at a truck stop. I think it was, where was it? In one of the major cities in Texas, actually. I think it was in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And in this truck stop, there was just a armed private security guard, like with body armor and the pistol and the whole 9 yards. And he's just a guy that hangs out there. And I've seen in other states, like in metropolitan areas, usually the truck stops will have just like an armed security guy just walking around. Now, I think there's a lot more valuable things at a school. You know how the Democrats like to be saying, human life's more valuable than property? Well, why is it that the property at a freaking truck stop is much more heavily guarded than people's children at a public school, that they would argue then, it's like, oh, your children have to go to our school. You can't homeschool them because you're racist. And we need to teach them about the gays.
Well, Breaker, here's the thing. When it comes to, 10-year-olds, I mean, they can basically take care of themselves. They don't need protection. But when it comes to, 40-year-old truckers, they need security, man. They want to make sure that they're safe. Okay, these are the people that really need our protection. Okay, the 10-year-olds, they're tough. They can take care of themselves. But the fucking truckers, those are the people that need the protection. I don't know. Here would be my proposition. I'm just gonna throw this out here. I don't know if it would make sense in practice. It's an idea. This is what you do. You have an opt-in system. You go to all the teachers and you go, hey, you can opt into the system. You don't have to, but if you would like to, we can give you firearms training. Maybe give you a psych eval to make sure that you're not gonna fucking use it to do anything bad. But you get firearms training, you get a psych eval. You go to the range once a month to make sure that you can aim at a target. And you'll be able to, I don't know, have a gun in your desk, and you can use it only in the situation that there's a terrorist threat, or there's a school shooting or whatever, an active shooter situation. That's the only time that you can use it. I'm not even saying that they have to fucking carry the gun on their person and have it in a holster. Like, they could just keep it in like a secure little safe or something. I don't know. But like, you just go to the teachers, you go, look, this is an opt-in system. We'll give you $5,000 extra a month, or $5,000 extra a year or something. And you're certified to be able to possess a firearm on school grounds. This doesn't make you a police officer or whatever. You can't start arresting people, but it's like, it's a just in case situation, and we'll give you free firearms training. Like, I would imagine that there are definitely teachers who would take up that offer. And I mean, I think that if you just did that, and like you had 3 or 4 teachers in every school that opted in, like I'm not even imagining that's every teacher. Maybe it's like 10% of the teachers in a school. Like only 10% even want to opt in, because I guess a lot of teachers are kind of lefty, and they don't like guns. But let's say that just 10% of them fucking opted in for this thing. It would become a lot more difficult to actually do a school shooting, because there's going to be like 5 people in the school that have guns, and so you're going to get killed probably, right? So that would be my idea. Do you think that there's any issues with this idea?
Well, I personally don't see anything wrong with that. I would probably go a step further and say that most public schools should look more like supermax prisons at this point. Like, there should be like armed guards at every freaking door.
Well, that's only the inner city schools, you understand.
No, I believe in equality. Like, we're all the same. So yeah, all public schools.
I mean, I think they pretty much are jails anyway. We should just make them.
Yeah, they already are. All we need is the armed guards.
Right. Yeah. We should stop lying. And just be like, look, yeah, this is a prison that you spend 9 hours a day at. Fucking pass through security, you little shit.
Yeah.
No, I don't want that. But
I actually know a guy that stopped a school shooting one time, and this wasn't even in the news.
Well, if no one gets killed,
I was just talking to a guy on Discord that he did like a solid snake shit to this guy. These freaking kids were trying to break in with freaking rifles and shoot up the school, and he just did like a solid snake CQC shit, knocked both of them down, took their guns, and kicked them in the ass and said, "Get the hell out of here, you little shits."
Holy shit, are you serious? That's crazy.
Yes. And, well, this was in Chicago, so that's basically just Tuesday.
Oh, right, yeah.
Obviously. Because our beneficent Mayor Beetlejuice has declared that guns bad, I guess.
Well, that's the thing, Breaker. And I think that's really just the humble point that the Democrats are trying to make here. So, after every shooting that occurs, the Democrats try to use this as a justification for taking away everyone's guns, because why not exploit a tragedy for your own political benefits? But yeah, so they want to have more gun control. I I don't think that it's the best idea, is the thing, because when you outlaw guns, then it's only the people who are willing to do illegal shit that will have guns, because it's much like I don't know, like marijuana. Like, you can make marijuana illegal, but people will still get their hands on marijuana because the government is not omniscient or omnipotent.
Another thing about that, if it is illegal, criminals are the most likely people to get their hands on the most amount of marijuana and be the distributors of it. Criminals who have no vested interest in the safety of the consumer whatsoever, so they could be putting whatever they want in that.
Right. Yeah. They could. So if you make firearms illegal, then okay, you have taken firearms away from people who are obeying the law, and you have made them defenseless, which means that criminals can then more easily set up shop in an area because no one can defend themselves. That's just how it works. I don't know why it is that there are some people, some politicians and leaders that think that the best way to achieve the most amount of peace is to make it so that all American citizens are disarmed lambs, right? Like, how does it make any sense to just make everyone a defenseless lamb and expect that will produce peace? Like, that's never how that works. What you're doing is you're basically what you're doing is like it would be like if you have like an animal, right? And the animal has an immune system. And like, the immune system protects the animal. It fights off all the shit that might get into it. And then you think, I know. I'm noticing a correlation between the animal getting sick and its immune system flaring up. Therefore, in order to prevent the animal from getting sick, all we need to do is just get rid of the immune system, put them on immunosuppressants, and then it will all get better. This is analogous to what some politicians think is the answer. Just make everyone completely defenseless, and then everything will just improve. That's insanity. That's wishful thinking. You're thinking that, oh, if you just get rid of all the guns, then people will just stop being violent. That's not how it fucking works. That's not the real world. That is idealistic fucking thinking.
Okay, like I can see the basic thrust of what you're going for there. It's like, I can't find a lot to disagree with that personally, but I'm going to have to disagree with you, General Chief. You see, that's where you're wrong. See, all you need to do is you need to put up a sign that says gun-free zone. And the only thing that caused this whole tragedy was that particular day, the gun-free zone sign was being cleaned. And not a lot of people know this. This is like exclusive news you're getting right now. You see, the thing of it is that, like, Joe Biden needed that particular sign to put in front of the pool that he was going to, where he gets his regular, like, leg rubs from the African American children to make his hair stand up and turn blonde in the sun, so he can learn about roaches. And that is a vital part of his daily routine, you see. And his regular sign was being cleaned, so he just borrowed one from this random public school. And that's why, because if that sign had been there, you see, the shooter would have saw the gun-free zone sign. It's like, man, I was going to do a mass shooting, but this sign says no guns. Womp, womp, womp. Guess I'll have to go back home.
Exactly. You know what? I think the answer is that we need to double the amount of gun-free zone signs that there are. If there's 5 around the school, we need to double it. We need to make it 10. Okay?
Yes.
So that
this is a great idea.
Yes, because why? Like, if you're a school shooter and you see that sign, like you're gonna turn around. So, yeah, that's what we fucking need, I guess.
Well, you see, the problem with that is, like, in order to produce this magical talisman effect within the signs and imbue it with this level of thaumaturgical warding effect, what is required is you have to give the Democrats even more money.
Well, for more signs, right?
Well, it's not just the signs. You see, the ritualistic process that they have to imbue the thaumaturgical properties into these signs is actually all done at the Bohemian Grove. So you need to take these signs before Minerva, the owl goddess, and bow before them and bless them, and either sacrifice a goat in some type of spirit cooking ritual, or have Bill Clinton chase a 9-year-old around through a Minotaur maze while wearing a Viking helmet.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's actually more complicated than I thought it was going to be, because I just imagined that it was like, one of the clergy members, also known as a social worker. You just get a social worker to, like, bless the sign, and that's what imbues it with power. But okay, it's a little bit more intensive than that.
Yeah, it needs, like, because social workers are just like minor priests of the cathedral. In order to make, like, the thaumaturgical gun warding effect in the sign, it needs, like, a high priest. And there's not a lot of high priests of the cathedral around. The only ones that we have in America are the Clintons and Soros. But you see, George Soros is usually busy devaluing the currencies of other countries, because that's a thing. And
well, he's doing his own holy work, you know.
Yeah, and Klaus Schwab is too busy tying Mr. Bond up to a table and cutting him in two with a laser beam. So,
God, every time I hear him say anything, he's just such a stereotypical Bond villain. It's funny.
Oh, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Okay, that was more of a Russian accent. I think it's a German like a thick German accent you want to go for.
The World Economic Forum.
There you go.
Comrades, friends, brothers in arms. We have completely taken over societies around the world.
See, this is like there is like a lot of people say that the Democrats don't make any sense, right? But there is a kind of an odd consistency to what the Democrats want to do. Like when it comes to disarming American citizens to make them weak and defenseless, that's also they're trying to do the same thing economically as well. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Live in the pod, eat the bugs. They have no interest in you being able to take care of yourself or like have individual freedom or autonomy or anything like this. They want you defenseless and suckling on their teat, their poison teat filled with poison fucking milk that they will provide to you. Because that is how you achieve happiness. There actually is a remarkable consistency in this fucking vampiric political philosophy. It's just that I think it's terrible. It is actually kind of consistent. It's just it seems to go against everything that you would want to have in your life. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't even want to know what they have to do to get that poison milk. That's a whole other process that involves
It involves Bill Clinton, doesn't it? Oh god.
Well, this time it involves Bill Clinton wearing a bovine tail butt plug chasing 5-year-olds through a hexagonal multi-dimensional Minotaur maze.
Oh, but it is the purest of the poison milk. The purest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like The whole thing is fucking evil. I think that people should have just, freedom to, like, do basically what they want to do. You shouldn't try to control people. People should be allowed to have firearms. They should be allowed to own property. I just, you know what? Here's the thing, man. uh, I don't know what this ideology is, but it's sick and it's twisted, and I think that it came from Europe. And I think, personally speaking, I think I'm sick of listening to ideologies from Europe. I don't think that they've ever done us any good. I you have the anti-Semitic German guy. What was his name? The German guy that was really anti-Semitic. Marx, right? So you have this fucking Marxism from Europe, not helpful. You have basically anything that came out of France post-revolution, not helpful. You have the Frankfurt School, all of that basically not helpful. You have this weird blend where like they try to make a mixed economy. It's like socialism, but it's not quite
Keynesianism.
Yeah, Keynesianism. Yeah, that is European.
Well, the thing, Keynesianism actually does work if you stick to the diet, but if you give like welfare to the elites and to the poors at the same time, all the time, regardless of the economic circumstances, that's where you grind it into the ground.
I am sick of having to listen to fucking 100-year-old European thinking. Personally, I'm sick of it. As an American, I think that it's about due time that we have I don't know, something like our own enlightenment or our own like Renaissance or whatever have you. And I think that actually, and maybe this is true, maybe it isn't. I don't know. This is kind of how I'm seeing it. It seems like the right in America is number one, a cultural force. Number two, they make the best memes. Literally, no one can disagree that they make the best memes.
I've got the best memes. Nobody's got better memes than me. Believe me, I know memes, and these are the best memes. They're gold encrusted. You're gonna love them. Believe me.
Yes, exactly. And I think that when it comes to like the actual like arguments that are occurring, because I listen to the mainstream arguments, between like the Republican politicians and the Democrat politicians. I listen to the media of what Fox News versus what MSNBC has to say. I listen to more independent journalists, so like I can listen to, say, like Hassan Piker versus Tim Pool, and I can even listen here on Discord, and with just a bunch of people that just like shooting the shit for fun because they like getting drunk on a fucking Friday evening and talking politics. I can listen to the discourse at every single one of these levels, and at every single level, it just, maybe I'm biased, but it seems like the people that are more on the conservative side, they're coming up with just smarter positions, more novel positions. Like they're more creative. They have more novelty in their positions than what the left does, which is weird because the left is supposed to be the ones who are like, the artsy-fartsy creative types, and the right is the ones who are like supposed to be stodgy and just stuck with whatever tradition says. But that's not the case. It's not the case anymore. It seems to me like actually the right is a cultural and intellectual force to be reckoned with, and it's not It's not like it's not as though it's like super well established. It's still growing. It's still coming into its own form. But I think that there is actually room here for something like an American version of the Renaissance, where we kick out this shit poor European thinking and we try to just build something that is a little bit better. And our nation was founded from Britain, and Britain has always been a little bit different than the rest of Europe because they have an island and a ginormous moat. And so they haven't been as influenced by the rest of Europe. And so they've kind of done their own thing. And I appreciate that American culture and heritage originally came from Britain. I more or less respect the British, although honestly, I think that their politicians suck. But I think that it's time for America to just say, "Fuck you, Europe. Fuck your ideas. We're gonna do American things. We're gonna do American, the good old American pragmatism, right?" The Europeans, they're not pragmatic whatsoever. They're very idealistic. Americans are pragmatic, and it turns out that if you want to interact with the world, you have to be pragmatic, because you cannot divine infinite wisdom from just thinking about stuff. You will never have infinite wisdom. You will never have the fucking correct answers. You will never have the perfect truth if you just by sitting around and thinking. In fact, you'll never have the perfect truth, period. But what you can do is you can just interact with reality and try to see what the best path forward is. Because it's arrogant to think that you, as just a human being, that you're gonna be able to fucking divine the ultimate truth of reality. You can't. It's bigger and more complicated than your brain can probably handle. Like, try to sit down and understand how a neural network works. Right? Try to sit down and understand it. No one on the planet can understand how a neural network works. It is not possible because it is a complex network. You just can't. There are systems in the universe that exist that are beyond your ability to understand them. And we happen to live like in the fucking heart of a ginormous complex system called life on Earth. Your ideas about how it should work or ought work or how you think it might work better, they are just ideas. They're not reality, okay? They're just not. So, fuck that shit. Good old American pragmatism. I think we're on to something.
I think there's a lot of truth in that, honestly. And I think we've had a few arguments about this in the past as well. I tend to agree with you on this, though, but I probably approach it from a slightly different angle because I'm not as libertarian as you are.
Okay, how would you approach this?
I do agree, like this essentialist ideology that the left seems to have, where the idea, if you pluck the idea from the heavens and bring it down to earth, it's just going to work because you had such a good and wonderful idea. But, people can be dumb and they can have bad ideas, and it's not even as simple as that. Let's say that you did have a perfectly good idea and you plucked it from the heavens and you bring it down here. Well, like what you were saying, like everything is so gooey and emergent and there's so many X factors and unpredictabilities that your good idea might run into a contingency that you had not planned for. And then it's like, oh, this idea doesn't work under these circumstances, but it's a good idea. How could this be? Well, it must be the circumstances are at fault. Reality is to blame for my freaking wonderful heavenly idea not working. So I'm going to blame everyone else but myself because my ideas are only ever good.
Right. If your ideas don't conform to reality, it's reality that's the problem, obviously.
Yeah. That's why they say perception is reality, literally.
Oh, God. It's such a bad way of thinking. Like there's this classic it's not like a story, but it's an example of the difference between conservative versus lefty thinking. So a left like a left leaning person, they come across a fence and they go, "What is this fence doing here? It's blocking my path. We need to do away with this fence." And a conservative will go to the fence and they'll go, I bet that someone put this fence here for a reason. Maybe it's keeping something else contained, or maybe it's protecting me from something that's out there. Maybe there's a purpose for this fence. Maybe I shouldn't just immediately tear down the fence because it happens to be in my way. That's like that, but that's a key difference, right? The conservative thinking is that, well, look, you don't know everything. You are not God, which means that there are things that just exist out there, both man-made and nature-made, that are there for some reason, and just because you can't figure out the purpose for it doesn't mean that it has no purpose, right? Just because you don't know why it's there doesn't mean that there's no reason why it's there. But the thinking that like that you could just come across the perfect godly thoughts, and now that is the truth. You have clutched on to the truth. You know that communism is the best way to obtain a utopia, and we will have fully automated luxury gay space communism. And that it's so fucking arrogant. It's so arrogant, and it's also, you're incorrect. You were objectively incorrect, because as you said, the world we live in it's too complex for a simple idea to ever be able to solve all of it. Like we live in like a multi-nested fucking emergent system. We're like, and we're like 6 layers deep. We're like, your consciousness comes from an emergent system that comes from an emergent system that is based off of another emergent system that is based off of another emergent system. And you think that a simple idea is going to be able to, solve all the problems of this incredibly complex system? There is no fucking way. You are incorrect. It makes no goddamn sense. Of course, I say that, but then, I also, I mean, everyone's guilty of this. Like I just said, why don't we give teachers guns, right? Maybe that is too simplistic of an answer as well, right? I don't know all the answers. I have a suggestion, right? I could see fucking problems with it, but I'm not saying that's like the thing that we must do. It's just an idea. I'm putting that out there, right? I'm not sure about prescriptive ideas is the thing. The prescriptive idea, the thing where you say you ought to do something. I think that those are dangerous. I think that I have thought that those were dangerous for a long time now. Non-conditional ought statements are the fucking devil.
Now, the more I think about it, the more I start to wonder. And this is why, from my perspective, this is going to require some type of elite reconnoitering to bring all this together. I don't think this can be simply a bottom-up process to run civilization. There has to be a top-down component, but that top-down component has to kind of mesh with the bottom-up naturalistic aspect of nature and the laws of nature and reality in a way that the intersectional leftists either aren't interested in doing or think that they're so above it all that they don't have to do that. That's where the problem comes from, in my perspective.
Well, I mean, I guess that one might respond to that and say, well, a democracy, for instance, uses the bottom up in order to try to manage the top down. So someone might say that, yes, democracy is the answer.
Well, that's a way of it, but then what you have is just the tyranny of the majority. And like a pure democracy, it's like, okay, 51% of people now think that, I don't know, every third child should have their eyes poked out. For whatever weird reason, 51% of people now agree on this. It's like, the fact that this is a good or bad idea doesn't matter if you're going to stick to hardline democracy, because the majority has spoken. Screw you. Every third child will now have their eyes removed.
Well, or it like if you actually had like completely pure democracy and it was based off of people who were self-interested, well, like I think 51% of humans are women and 49% of humans are men, or something like that, and that's just because men are just a little bit more likely to somehow get themselves killed for various reasons. So there's a little bit more alive women than there are alive men. Okay, well, what if everyone just voted according to strictly what is best for them, and there was a law on the table, and it said, okay, new bill, all men must give half of all of their shit to the government, so the government can distribute that to all women equally. And you know what? I think it would be a pretty close vote. I think it might come down to 51-49, but if the women take it, then all right, now they get half the shit of all the men. Fuck yeah. That is
Women are going to be like, wait a minute, you're guaranteeing me half the shit of all the freaking men ever? It's like, yay!
Shit, dude, if I was a woman, I would probably vote for that.
And on top of that, if you do this like strictly by the numbers, I mean, more men are felons, so that's going to preclude a lot of male voters right there. Women are more likely to vote than men are generally, and that's going to screw those numbers up. So it's just going to be the women voting for it at that point, and they're going to vote in their self-interest. Like, gives me debts.
Right, and this is the central issue with democracy. A constitutional republic is far, far, far better than a simple democracy. Because, and actually, I would say that I think that even though America is the best constitutional republic, it still has inherent flaws. So I'm not going to say it's perfect. But a constitutional republic is better than a democracy. But also, even that is not perfect. I don't think that anyone's come up with a fantastic way to run a civilization. I think that we've been able to find the least shitty out of the other options, but actually that's exactly what I would expect. Because, like, in nature, there is never a good option. There is always trade-offs for things, and there is never a perfect answer to anything. It's just that you kind of run like a search algorithm to try to figure out what the most optimal solution is amongst the available solutions. And it seems as though human beings have been running all of these search algorithms, trying out different ways of how to run a civilization, and we've kind of found that, well, overall, out of the available options that we know of, constitutional republic seems to work. And in fact, this is part of the reason why I think that it's good for America to have more states' rights, because we can do 50 different searching algorithms at once, and if one of them ends up being really fucking good, and it makes that state very prosperous, then the other states will probably follow a similar sort of thing as well, and that just helps America become better. When you crystallize that structure and you say the federal government is in control of it, basically altogether, then you've eliminated all of the little experiments that you could be doing in all of the 50 states, and you just say, well, whatever the federal government does, and you better hope that they choose a good solution and that they don't choose a bad solution, because we all now have to just follow that. Yeah, just another reason why I feel as though we should limit the power of the federal government. I don't know.
one of the problems with republics that I've heard Sargon from the Lotus Eaters talk about recently is that republics are intentional societies. That means that at some point in time, someone or some committee of people sit down to ratify like a specific discrete algorithm and under which to run this society. Whereas something like England is a purely emergent society that literally did grow from the bottom up.
So, number one, I'm not sure that that has actually resulted in, say, Britain being better than America in terms of like which one would I rather live in. I understand that Britain has a fucking ancient culture, a cultural behemoth that it is kind of resting on. And I get that. I understand that. But here's the thing. Think about this. For Britain, the Enlightenment was a blip in its otherwise multi-millennia long history. And so it doesn't have as much impact on them, right? Like this idea that, like, you know, people ought to be free to do what they want. It was like it had an impact, of course, but ultimately, like, their society and their culture is so old and it's been going on for so long that it was just a little speed bump that they passed through. Whereas America was fundamentally born from the Enlightenment movement, and so that wasn't just like a little blip on our thing. That was what we grew from, and I think that makes us fundamentally different than Britain.
Yeah, it also means that America is based on like a very intentional, logical, empirical, scientific working out of certain facts and properties of the world, whereas England just had like we think like cutting people open and letting out their blood cures these diseases, or sticking leeches on people to, like, they had no freaking clue what they were doing, but they just had to grow through it.
Well,
and evolve through it.
Yeah, but I don't think that there's any reason that having a logical architecture embedded in an otherwise emergent system is necessarily a bad thing. So
Well, it's necessarily incomplete, like we've talked about many times. So,
well,
that means your society is going to collapse necessarily at one point. Now, it might last 100 years, it might last 1,000 years, but it is necessarily going to go out the door at some point.
all civilizations eventually collapse. I just I'm interested in America lasting longer than 300 years. That's all. But I actually I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with building like emergent systems and complex systems off of a basis of some sort of strict human sort of logic. For instance, if you look at Darwinism, it's a very simple set of rules. You have a replicator. The replicator can replicate itself, and it also has mutation. Like, this is actually a very simple, like, logical structure that exists and appears to exist at the basis of Darwinism. Very simple logical structure. Nothing emergent is going on there. It's actually it's very logical. Even a child can understand it. But then from that, emergent properties can very easily spring forward. So I actually have no problems with having logical systems at the core of things. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. In fact, I think that oftentimes there could be a benefit, especially when you're dealing with humans. It's just that you need to understand that that logical system that you've constructed, it it isn't it isn't godly. It isn't correct. It is just it's a system that you built, and now things spring forward from it. That's all.
The problem is that you don't necessarily have any way of knowing, like, whatever you build isn't going to terminate at some arbitrarily low number.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, but there's risk in everything. Nothing in life is guaranteed, right?
I don't think it's looking too good for America these days, honestly. Like I've told you before, I think China is next in line for the shit show. So we'll see how that goes, I guess. It's going to be Blade Runner future. Everything's going to be in Chinese.
I think so have you ever like had an argument with one of these Chi-coms?
I don't think they're too amenable to arguments.
No, they're not. No, they don't like to argue. But I've argued with a couple Chi-coms in my life. I don't think they were actually in China because there's a firewall, but you know, like people that maybe like moved from China and for whatever reason decided to hop on Discord, and you know they. I suspect that even a couple of these people were being paid by the Chinese Communist Party to advocate their interests just, you know, on the internet. I know that that's a thing. And generally speaking, they're not good at arguments. They're not good at having the intellectual debate because that's not their purpose. Their purpose is to shill. Right? Like, shills are not good at arguing. Shills are just good at being sophists and sounding like they're good at arguing. So, I think that if we're moving into this sort of era of fifth generational warfare, well, the Chinese can try to propagandize the American people with the TikTok and the bot accounts and the shills and influencing the media and all these kind of things. But do you remember what I was saying last week? How like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos might be similar in terms of their wealth, and yet you can't buy influence, and Elon Musk is just simply more influential. I think that this is a thing. The Chinese can try to buy influence. But at the end of the day, I don't think that they can be as influential as, let's just say, a fucking guy in America who is trying to speak the truth can. So I think that honestly, at the end of the day, I think that American conservatism is a much stronger cultural force than even is Chinese bullshit.
Also, keep in mind that you're bringing up Elon Musk. I heard something recently from one of the many podcasts that I watch that I think we've talked about this too, about him specifically. Technically, in a way, he is on the government teat, but he knows how to mitigate your awareness of that very tactically, because Tesla is completely reliant on green energy subsidies because, like, bottom-up emergence of electric vehicles being a profitable thing that people actually want to buy. Like, you realize a lot of that is just government subsidized, right? And Tesla is monumentally overvalued. So I think there's a tactical component of his whole Twitter thing where he's trying to reshuffle his deck and offload the Tesla shares that he knows are toxically overvalued in a way that doesn't panic investors.
Well, he did have to sell Tesla shares in order to pick up Twitter shares, but I mean, is Twitter a better investment than Tesla? Like, I don't know. I mean, like if
the thing about Elon Musk is he's really smart about meme culture. Like, Elon Musk has some type of ethereal thread connected to the bottom-up fractal emergent world that a lot of the top-down bureaucratic thinkers in the tech sectors don't. So he goes on things like Dogecoins and cryptocurrencies and all this emerging market stuff. And Twitter is like this cultural touchstone that's caused a lot of derision amongst a lot of people around the world. So it's just like, what better way to disguise my offloading of my toxic frickin' bloated shares than to say it's like, this is all for free speech and making Twitter a better place. Remember when I told you he wins from every direction no matter what he does?
He does tend to be a winner. I agree.
And he's not stuck up his own ass and dry and mechanical like Mark Zuckerberg. And Bill Gates is just trying to be like, I don't know, Big Daddy of the frickin' globalist world. Like, they're all ego-driven or like super Spurgatrons, and Elon Musk is a Spurgatron that can laugh at himself.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's very, very effective.
Well, so I think that it is always darkest before the dawn, and I think that I think that if we actually wanted to have like a maybe a better version of America, I think that one that has maybe a bit more freedom for people or something like that. I'm not saying it's never going to be perfect. Hell, it may never even be great. But maybe just better is good enough. But in order to, I think, probably to try to make a better America, I think that some of these institutions, they have to collapse. And that is going to cause, at least, if they do happen to collapse, that is going to cause some temporary pain and suffering. So I can understand why it is that a lot of people are interested in just maintaining the system. But at this point, it seems as though the system is so bloated and Byzantine that I don't know if it's able to sustain itself. Like, I think that everyone's interested in continuing this Ponzi scheme, and they never want it to run out. But it has to eventually, and the longer that you wait, the worse it gets. This actually harkens back to a few shows ago about the metaphor with the forest fire.
Yeah, I remember that, and I was just thinking of that as you were saying that. A lot of the problems with bureaucracy and this stultified, crystallized frickin' system that we're under, it's kind of synthetically kept alive in this artificial half-life where it's neither living nor dead. And everyone just kind of assumes and believes in good faith that everything will just keep going as normal as long as they can make it to Friday on at this point, a global scale. But you actually need that cycle of death and rebirth to keep the evolution of all these things going up to and including civilizations. Rome, like the Roman civilization, expanded and contracted and expanded and contracted many times over its lifespan. And then when it became bureaucratic and decadent, that's when it all started to fall apart. And as it was falling apart, no one really noticed what was happening until one day it was just like, it kind of looks like Rome isn't a thing anymore, I guess. I guess it's the French and the English and the Europeans' turn. And that wasn't like this bang, aha, bow moment where it all just collapsed like catastrophically overnight. It was this grueling, slow chipping away over time to where it was just like, well, I guess this isn't a thing anymore. And something similar will probably happen to America over time.
Well, yeah, I guess it's a little bit like the fall of the Galactic Empire in Isaac Asimov's Foundation. It doesn't happen overnight. It's like this ginormous fucking tree that takes like literally a century to actually like fall down. Or
the tree is a good metaphor, but because as the tree is dying and in the process of falling down, you might not even notice that it's dead immediately. Like, Like slowly it'll produce less and less leaves, and then you'll look up at the branches one day and they'll be barren, but the tree is still there. But then there's all types of moss and other things growing off of and out of the tree. And eventually, like in that somewhere around that same spot, there might be another tree growing into that tree, and that tree will fall down, but then there'll be another tree.
Right, and if you're a humble squirrel just kind of chilling on one of the branches, you may not notice any of this at all.
Yeah.
But I will I guess I will say this, as I have been doing in every episode for the last like a few handfuls of episodes. You all of this is also analogous to science itself. I'm gonna point that out once again. All of the parallels that you can make between the Roman Empire and Isaac Asimov's Galactic Empire and the United States Empire. All of these parallels can be made towards science as an institution itself. I believe.
And that's why we need the crazy libertarians to stay around, as much as I might disagree with them on occasion. It's the crazy libertarian types, like the crazy son of a bitch that got on a boat and said, I'm just going to go that way until I hopefully find something. You know, a lot of those crazy libertarians that got on those boats that sailed out into the blue yonders are like, a lot of them didn't make it, but the ones that did are the reason why we're having this conversation right now. And you could say the same thing about science and discovering new scientific frontiers. It was never like, rarely if ever was it an staunch scientific bureaucrat that was just maintaining the system with this conservative zeal. It was usually like an outside-the-box quirky weirdo that comes along and shakes up the whole paradigm with great resistance, I might add.
Right, because when you have this crystallized structure, it becomes kind of dead. You actually need dynamics in the system in order to create new things. And both with the federal government and with science, I think that people are so interested in just having these institutions continue and just stay alive and just keep pumping out stuff, that they've been corrupted with like power structures, and they've become crystalline. They've become dead. They're no longer dynamic, and they're no longer doing the job that they're supposed to. And that is an issue, especially, like, let's say that you're a genuine progressive, and you want to progress, and you want things to change, maybe for the better. Certain types of progressives seem to want things to change for the worse, but whatever, they like change. Fundamentally, if you are a progressive, why would you want a system that is stagnant? It's counter to your entire ideology, and yet many progressives seem to prefer the stagnant, crystallized system, and it doesn't make any sense, at least to me.
It's strange how you bring up progressives, because it seems that all they want to vote for these days, at least in America, or you could make a similar argument in England, I suppose, is instaunched bureaucratic corpos. Like, there doesn't seem to be that many progressive quote-unquote politicians. They all seem to just toe this neoliberal, corporatist shill, crony capitalist line, and you would think all those things are antithetical to progressive values, but it's funny how they just keep picking that over and over.
It's kind of like that joke. If you're brave enough, anything is a dildo. It's like if you're brave enough, anything can be progressive. Even like fucking like just living under the corporation's boot. If you're progressive enough, anything can be progressive.
When you made that metaphor, I was thinking it's just like, it's because they're not brave, and they just want the comfortable, familiar dildo of the neoliberal, corporatist, crony capitalist establishment to keep fucking them in the ass. rather than be more adventurous. Like, I'm going to try an actual progressive dildo. Now, sometimes it might be a dud, and they might like grab a pineapple by mistake, like that scene in Little Nicky where Satan shoves a pineapple up Hitler's ass. Like, sometimes you might get a pineapple, but other times you might get like a super mondo horsecock that's superior to the mere micro penis capitalist crony dildo that you've been using all of this time.
See, exactly. I think this is an odd metaphor, but I think it's true. Everything in life has risks associated with it. If you try to do something new, then you might actually end up getting the pineapple. That's totally possible. But you also might end up doing something that is better than what you had before. There are a lot of people, however, that are happy with just precisely whatever the incestuous corporate government system gives to them, and they say, I don't want to rock the boat. I'm happy with this government made dildo that isn't really satisfying my needs, but at least it's there. If I were to possibly ever try to rebel against the corporate government system, then oh my god, I might not have any dildo, and that's terrifying. But I like you only live on this planet for like if you're a dude, like 75 years if you're lucky. So like just go out there and just get the best dildo that you can find. Just fucking get a good dildo. Don't settle for the government dildo. Don't just settle for the government fucking you up the ass. Let a real Chad fuck you up the ass. Go out, find your Chad, find your dildo.
Well, it's just
Beautiful
like
metaphor.
the enigmatic Dave Rubin. Like, he had to say, I agree with that to many, many people before he finally found his podcast guest soulmate in the form of Rave Dubin.
I've heard that, but I forget what that's referencing. Which one is Rave Dubin?
That's the Freedom Tunes episode that you showed me where he was agreeing with Stefan Molyneux, he was agreeing with Ben Shapiro, he was agreeing with Sam Harris, and he was agreeing with Jordan Peterson, and he just kept agreeing with all of these people. Like, Dave Rubin is the perfect example, actually. He just keeps saying, I agree with that to everybody until he meets his mirror match that just says, I agree with that back to him ad infinitum, and it's a marriage made in heaven. I agree with that. I agree. Yeah. By the way, if anyone listening has not seen Freedom Tunes, you really should subscribe. It's a great little animated web comic on YouTube. Freedom Tunes. It's really quite hilarious. They just released one this Thursday, actually, on 26th of May. And you would that's like the perfect like analogy to the progressives too, because if you are a real progressive and genuinely open-minded and a postmodernist and a relativist, you would kind of say I agree with that to literally everything until you found something that just ever said I agree with that back to you. All the progressives need to find their Rave Dubin. But they don't have the courage to go out and find Rave Dubin, so they just stick with Hillary Clowntron 9000 and Ocasio Donkey Face Cortez.
See, that's the thing, man. I 100% agree with you. I think that when it comes to the American right, they're able to say, you know what? Fuck you, Mitt Romney. Fuck you, Ted Cruz. Fuck you, lots of people. Fuck you, Jeb Bush. Fuck you, George Bush. We know what we want, and we're looking for our goddamn soulmate, and our goddamn soulmate is, I guess, currently, not sure if it's Trump or DeSantis, but we're looking for a soulmate. We're looking for the best fucking thing that we can get. Whereas the Democrats, they're scared. they're like, oh, I don't know. I guess we'll vote for Hillary, and okay, if that does, we'll vote for Biden. I don't know. I just whoever is the most fucking mainstream corporate shill that like everyone else will like maybe try to vote for, we'll vote for that. It doesn't work.
Biden could literally say the N-word on national television, and they would find some type of circumlocutory mental gymnastics to make him not racist. Like, they don't even have enough courage of their own convictions to disagree with people they otherwise agree with on separate topics. Like, they have to be in 100% absolute conformity with anyone and everyone all the time, and that's their greatest weakness. That's why all of these, like, shill revolving door used car salesmen, quote-unquote progressive liberal politicians can just be like, okay, so all I have to do is superficially appear to be placating these people, and they'll still vote for me no matter how much of a sack of shit I am?
Dude, 100%. Like, for instance, I voted for Trump. Was I happy about everything that he did? No. When he bombed, I think it was like the first couple months into his presidency, when he bombed that Air Force, not Air Force, that airport in Syria or whatever. I was like, no, that's fucked up. Although the media actually said that was the first time that he acted presidential. What the fuck? When Trump decided to say that you can't smoke cigarettes until you're 21, just nationally, they're going to raise the age of buying tobacco from 18 to 21. I disagree with that. I don't agree with that policy decision. When Trump used the warp speed thing in order to develop a unsafe vaccine, in my opinion, and distribute it to all the Americans, I disagreed with that. Now, Trump never made it a mandate, but Trump was actually advocating for the vaccine, and I think that
I think what you meant to say was the perfectly safe and healthy vaccine that you need to get multiple doses of, but it is still perfectly safe and healthy, even though you need multiple doses of this, and even though it does not 100%, if even 50% protect you from the virus, it is still 100% safe and effective and healthy, and you should get it, and if you don't, you're a conspiracy theorist. And you want grandma to die. Why are you trying to kill your grandmother, you sack of shit?
I'm sorry, Breaker. You're right. It's that slipped my mind. You were 100% correct. All and any risks of myocarditis are just conspiracy theories. Clearly, it is just a 100% safe and effective tool against COVID, and you know what? I got my 10th dose just the other week. I went into the doctor's office wearing my standard 4 masks, and I got my 10th dose. And the guy was like, "Hey, you don't need that many." And I said, "You know what, Doc? Fucking sign me up for another one. I'm in this to win it." Yes. Of
Well,
course.
I got one better for you. What I did was I like collect all the vaccines like Pokemon. So I've had multiple doses of every single vaccine available. That's how I'm like 500% safe and secure now against any and all life-threatening grandmother-killing diseases that may come out this time or sometime in the future.
Oh, nice. You got the Johnson and Johnson. You got the Pfizer. You got the Moderna. Yeah, fuck yeah, bro. Okay. Wow, that's.
I even went to India and got their vaccine. Like, I've collected vaccines from all over the world. I'm like Ash Ketchum of vaccines. I've got to literally catch them all everywhere, no matter where they are. It is my destiny to catch them all.
Oh, fuck yeah, bro. Your immune system and your heart must be on fire right now. Let's go.
Well, I can barely walk to the refrigerator now, but it was worth it. I'll never get COVID ever.
You're so protected, bro. Fuck yeah.
Yay. I'm getting kind of tired now. Oh. I'm just, it's like what Trump said. I'm getting tired of winning so much, and that's why I'm so exhausted right now. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. But as I was saying, the thing is that I I think that Trump was a phenomenal president. I voted for him, but I can still say that he did bad shit. Like, there's shit that I don't agree with. And I will be completely open and honest about, like, hey, there's a number of things that I didn't like that he did, and he did those things, and it's upsetting. But I would vote for him again because I think overall, when it comes to the scales, he did a lot more good than he did bad. But it seems as though when it comes to a lot of the talking points on the left, it's either Joe Biden or whichever politician they're advocating for. Either Joe Biden is absolutely perfect, never did any wrong ever, or you must be a Nazi. And I don't think that that's healthy.
Well, I think that's a clear indicator to me that you are, in fact, a Nazi, and I should distance myself from you.
Fuck. You're right. Yeah, that does mean I'm a Nazi. You criticized Joe Biden once. It's tough.
Come on, man. America, you know the thing.
Like, how could you not agree with such scintillating oration as that?
See, but okay, that's another thing, right? Like, when it comes to the right, I have met Nazis and I've met communists. I've met them both. I've argued with both of them. I'm not a fan of either. But I understand that I guess more or less that the Nazis are more in they're like the super duper extremist on the right, and the communists are the super duper extremists on the left. And the thing is that I can say, fuck Nazis, right? I'm not a fan of Nazis. I think that they're authoritarian. I am specifically anti-authoritarian. I think that basically they're a bunch of Ku Klux Klan members who also want to engage in big government socialism. None of that is appealing to me. Fuck the Nazis. I don't like them. But also fuck the communists, because also they're a whole bunch of goddamn authoritarians who also have issues with anti-Semitism. But why is it that the right is able to effectively police the Nazis and be like, yo, like you're extreme as fuck. We don't want you in here. We disagree with your fucking positions. Like, a lot of the right is libertarian. The Nazis are very authoritarian, so they don't get along. And yet, when it comes to the left, you never see fucking Biden coming out and saying, I denounce communists. Why is it that Trump is able to say, I disavow the white nationalists, but I don't think if I've ever heard, even once, Hillary Clinton or Obama or Biden come out and say, I disavow communism? I mean, maybe they have. I haven't heard it personally.
Well, funny that you mention that, because DeSantis advocated for a remembrance of victims of communism day in Florida.
I mean, that makes sense. I think communism killed more people than any other ideology that has ever existed ever. So why not have a day for that?
Yeah, and all those Cubans, surprisingly, well, surprise, no surprise, tend to agree with that sentiment. Yeah, let's remember the victims of communism, which include our family members under Fidel Castro. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea to me.
Wow, Breaker, you're telling me that the Cubans that escaped communist Cuba are not that interested in communism? Color me surprised.
It's shocking, I know, because, well, I guess that means that they just, like, somehow what happened is they escaped the communist paradise of Cuba because in their hearts they were all, like, secretly white nationalists, and when they came to America, they were exposed to the toxic, corrupting influence of the forbidden fruit of white privilege. So through osmosis, they absorbed so much white privilege that they're basically Nazis now, and that's why they disagree with Castro. It's nothing. It's not Castro's fault, you see. Like he's like the best and stuff.
I'll tell you what, those very well tanned Cuban white nationalists. I'll tell you what, they're a danger.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's why you need to separate the concept of whiteness from
whiteness,
like just garden variety racism and white people. Yeah, whiteness can strike anywhere, and it could come in any guise. So you got to be extra vigilant.
Who is that? There was a fuck, I forget his name, but it was this black guy. He was running for some office. He was like a black libertarian guy, and they said that the media. This was a few months ago. But the media said like this is the black face of white supremacy. Do you remember that?
I've heard similar rhetoric so many times that I can't pick out a specific example. It was probably that sounds like something they'd say about Jesse Lee Peterson. Amazing. Do you believe in that? Amazing.
Oh, it was it Larry Elder? Yeah, I think it was Larry Elder.
Isn't that the anti-KKK guy?
No, that's shit. The guy that made a whole bunch of KKK people stop being KKK. No, I don't think that is.
That's the anti. He was on Tim Pool recently, and Tim Pool actually said that he made racist comments. Tim Pool was arguing against him.
Hold on. Let me give me 2 seconds. Keep talking. I'm gonna look this up.
Well, as you're looking that up, it's like, the black face of white supremacy. Like there is no end to the fucking hubris of these people. They're just like anything that doesn't agree. I don't even think they believe in the things to begin with. I think they just use the words because they're like magic spells. Like, what gets the people we don't like to have an emotional reaction and bring them down to our level? Call them a bunch of names, insult their families, their mother, and impugn their character until they're just as much of an emotional wreck as we are, so that they can... We force them to operate in our domain of emotionality because we don't have any facts and logic to counteract their facts and logic. So we need to drag them down. Just call them racist and sexist and use the magic word spells to bring them down off their logical high horses so they can fight in the mud with us.
Okay, so it was Daryl Davis is the guy. That's not Larry Elder, right? Okay, so. No, it's Daryl and Breaker. This is an example of you being racist because you thought that they were two black people and that therefore they must be the same person. No, Larry Elder was running for, I guess, being the governor of some state. It was Daryl Davis who got all the KKK people to quit being part of the KKK. Yeah, and that is also a different person, by the way, than Thomas Sowell, because Thomas Sowell is probably he is a black guy, but he's also probably one of the brightest American thinkers that has existed. So there are differences between black people, Breaker. You goddamn racist.
Well, you see, the thing of it is, like, even Hillary Clinton agrees with me that they all do look alike. She even said it on CNN.
Oh, God.
So I'm authorized by Hillary Clinton to call you racist.
I mean, if Hillary Clinton says it's so, then it's so.
Well, yeah, she is the dark matron mother of the apocalypse, the embodiment of Slanesh, so...
Okay, alright. Have we gone through this, about, like, who would be the Chaos Champion for each of the Chaos Gods? So you have Korn, Slanesh, Tzeentch, and Nurgle, right? So, for anyone who doesn't know, Warhammer 40k, there are 4 Chaos Gods that exist. and so they're gods that exist in the warp, and they feed upon like the negative mental energies of all living species, and they project themselves as gods. And so you have Korn is the god of warfare and bloodshed. Nurgle is the god of disease and pestilence or something. You have Tzeentch, which is the god of schemes and cunningness, and then you have Slaanesh, which is the god of I guess just absolute pleasure, fucking having an orgy while hooked up to a heroin drip. So, out of all of the politicians that exist, who do you think would be the champion of each of the Chaos Gods?
Well, Fauci is definitely Nurgle.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. Of course. The god of disease. He would be the champion. I think that
Tzeentch, I think, is actually
Hillary Clinton.
I'm probably inclined to agree on that.
I think that she has schemes for days.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Slaanesh might be Bill Clinton.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's anyone better.
I think Richard Bolton, like the warmonger and warhawk motherfucker, is probably Corrin, because he always wants to bomb everybody.
Well, it doesn't have to be Democrats. So, for instance, I think that either a George Bush or a Dick Cheney might actually work very well for the avatar of Corn.
Terrorists hate freedom. Well, George Bush did say the terrorists never stop thinking of new ways to harm our country, and neither do we.
I remember that quote.
I think the mask slipped off the avatar of Corrin a bit there.
That was like shit. What was the George Bush was actually speaking recently, and he said something along the lines of like Putin is a bad man. These bad men, they try to invade places like Iraq. Wait, I mean Ukraine. It was such a bad.
Yeah, the fucking script run, the fucking 2008 script running still.
Well, anyway, so there's that, and then I briefly wanted to get into Taoism versus Buddhism. I know this is a total non sequitur, but I was recently talking to a Taoist here on Discord, and I've also talked to multiple Buddhists here on Discord. Of course, I actually looked this up. The total number of Buddhist practitioners in the world, 470 million. The number of Taoist practitioners, 12. 12 versus 470 million. So there are a lot more Buddhists than there are Taoists, but I suspect that I think that the Taoists are more correct than the Buddhists. I do think that my central problem with Buddhism, and I actually used to practice Buddhism. I did it for a year when I was a bit younger. When I was in college, I would meditate every day. Did it for a year. Until I realized, and this is one of those ideas that like you have one day and you think about it and you go, that's not really probably that big of an issue. I guess I'm sure I'll learn more and I'm sure it will be resolved. But then it just never gets resolved, and like the idea just keeps gnawing at you and gnawing at you and gnawing at you until you realize, like, this is a central problem. Um, my issue with Buddhism is that if a gigantic asteroid were coming to annihilate the human race, say one as big as the one that killed the dinosaurs, what would China do? What would America do? I don't know. They would build bunkers. They would try to nuke the fucking thing. If you were just like I don't know, a poor farmer, you would probably at least try to dig a hole and try to live it out. What would a Buddhist do? A Buddhist would sit, because they have no attachment to this life. And to be attached to anything is the opposite of enlightenment. So they sit. That is their response. They will meditate over this and try to figure out why it is that they are totally fine with all life on Earth ending. But I don't believe that a Taoist would do this, actually, because they practice the Wu Wei, or the way I think it's the Wu Wei. It's the path, and this path that they seem to want to follow is in accordance with nature. Whereas, and so actually, this is a little bit like what we've been talking about this entire time. It's a little bit like the left versus the right, or the people that think that they have the perfect idea versus the people that think that they maybe just ought to try to live within reality and follow, whatever nature throws at them. I think that's kind of the difference between the Buddhist and the Taoist. I think that the Buddhist has an idea of precisely what enlightenment is, whereas the Taoist simply tries to abide by nature. And I think that the Taoist may be correct. Now, I don't know. I only studied Buddhism for a bit. I've never ever in my life studied Taoism. I could be totally off base. And I'm clearly not an enlightened motherfucker. So, my opinion is ultimately probably not the best one. Then again, who is enlightened? I would ask that. But what I would absolutely love is if anyone out there happens to be listening, if you happen to be a Buddhist or you happen to be a Taoist, I would love to have a Buddhist and a Taoist on here to talk. Now, I know that it's not in your practice to get into a debate. In fact, I would imagine that you guys would just end up agreeing with one another, just going, "Oh no, you're better. Oh no, you're better," because you're so conflict hesitant. But I don't want to have a debate between a Taoist and a Buddhist. I would like to have a discussion, and I would shut the fuck up and just let you guys talk about it. But I would love to have just a Taoist and a Buddhist fucking just talk to one another. I think it would be super cool, because I think that there are actually fundamental disagreements that exist between the two camps. I think that there are a lot of places that you guys agree, but I think that there are also places that you guys disagree, and I would like to explore that. Yeah, that's basically that's the gist of it.
Assuming any Taoists or Buddhists made it this far into such a wacky and zany podcast such as this, that would be quite a decent thing. Like I told you before, I know some guys that I'll try to wrangle up. I do know a Buddhist, like a relatively well-practiced Buddhist, but he's a very hard person to get a hold of. But I'll see what I can do. Insofar as like my perspectives on all this, I think this goes back to like, if I remember my history around this correctly, Lao Tzu was like, if you write down a list of laws and stick it in the ground on a tablet, people are just kind of going to evolve around that frozen fire of your laws. And at some point in the future, they're going to look at that and be like, I need to interpret that differently, or live this other way that wasn't the original way. Like, the meaning is going to change, even though those words are stuck forever in time on that tablet. Because the meanings of people's lives changes, because people are dynamic and growing, and the stone tablet is just an obelisk stuck in the ground that is never changing.
A little bit like the American Constitution, although technically speaking, that is sort of a living document.
It requires like a 75% supermajority in a constitutional convention to change it, which happened a lot during the early 1900s. It happened like back to back, like machine gun fire, amendment. But ever since then, like around after 1940s and into the 50s, it didn't change much. And I think some of the last parts of that had to do with the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah,
And I think the Civil Rights Act was the last constitutional convention that really did anything.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's been able to really touch the Constitution in quite a while. No one's able to make amendments because I think that we've just become too stratified. And you know what? I am in complete agreement with Tim Pool here. I think that war is knocking, both international and domestic. War is knocking at the door. And that's just something that maybe you want to look out for, because the thing is that you can ignore the knocking for some time, but it will just keep knocking, and the knocking will get more intense, and eventually the knocking will get strong enough that it will start to damage your door, and then your door will fall down, and then what are you going to do? So, yeah, unless you wanted to say anything else, on that, I guess that we could wrap it up here.
I think I'll end on by saying, even the American Constitution, which had built into it provisions to make it malleable and changeable if enough people wanted it to change, has still ended up going horribly fucking awry all these years later, and led to whatever the fuck this is. So, yeah. Maybe Lao Tzu had a decent idea all those thousands of years ago in Taoism.
Potentially, I think that there is no perfect system, but you know, I've been reading up a little bit on Taoism myself, and I think that it follows the same God that I do, motherfucking nature God, and I support nature God. But anyway, with that, I guess we can wrap it up here. If you've made it this far into the episode, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind, it would be very nice of you to hit the like button and the subscribe button, because I'm a fucking shill. And absolutely leave any comments that you have down below. We will read them, and we will respond. Yeah, there's that. And once again, if you don't feel like listening to us on YouTube, we are now on Spotify. But aside from that, we will leave it there, and peace out, everyone.
By the way, before you go, don't forget to smash on all our affiliate links. Make sure to follow our sponsors, Raid, Manscaped,
Raid Shadow
Portable VPN, Ebony the King's Return. You thought that game was fake, but guys, I finally found the game!
Okay, alright, peace out, everyone.